Hello, Drifter, a travel fact checker here, and today we're going to be talking about disabled access in the Turkish city of Istanbul. And the simple answer is, when it comes to disabled access, it is actually pretty good on the whole. Of course, there are some downsides that we will need to go through, but for the most part, all of the very popular destinations are actually disabled accessible. And I will be going through those one by one. Now we will name the top 4 sites in Istanbul with disabled accessibility. First up, we have the Blue Mosque, and that has a ramp to get in, and it is located on the right hand side of the main entrance, and that will get you into the courtyard and eventually into the main block. Next up, we have the Hagia Sophia. That also has a ramp to get into it, and that is located at the exit of the mosque. Thirdly, we have the Basilica Cistern. That actually has a lift to get you down the flight of stairs into it, and there's no need to wait in the line there either. You just go into the entrance that the tour guides use and they will let you through then. And last but not least, we have Topkopi Palace, and that also has a ramp, and it is located at the normal entrance that everybody uses. Not very hard to find at all. Now we've gone through how you can get into these popular destinations, we're going to go through a couple of tips. And number 1 on that is that you cannot wheel your wheelchair into the carpeted area of mosques. This is obviously for 2 reasons. The first is religious reasons, and the second is for hygiene reasons, which gives you 2 options of how to resolve this. The first one is a lot of mosques have a separate wheelchair that you will be able to use that is fine to use in the carpeted area. Now, that might not be a solution if you are severely disabled and can't really change from one to the other easily. So there is another option, and the other option is to use sticky tape to cover the wheels of your wheelchair, so you can then just use yours in the carpeted area. Now, the Blue Mosque had this sticky tape when we were there, but Hagia Sophia did not. And so really, just to avoid any kind of disappointment or problems, I would advise that you actually bring yourself a roll of sticky tape about 2 inches wide with you, and then there'll be no problems when you get to any of the mosques. We'll unfortunately move on to the not so fantastic aspect of Istanbul as a disabled friendly city. It is, for historical reasons and defensive reasons, actually atop many different hills. And some of them are very, very steep, and that does unfortunately mean that unless you have incredibly strong upper body, or you have people with you that can push you up those hills or prevent you from rolling down lightning fast these hills, it is going to be incredibly difficult for you. And the only really alternative to that would be taking a taxi everywhere from your hotel. Now, also, I want to talk about the curbs. There are many lowered curbs in the city, which is fantastic. However, these curbs are not down to nothing. They do still have a bump, and again, it comes down to how good your upper body strength, how good and robust your wheelchair is, how disabled you are, and whether you have helpers who are also very physical fit. It will all be a thing like that. And of course, the last thing when it comes to getting around the city is that the pavements are actually very thin, and obviously it is a very busy city, so it is going to be quite difficult in that aspect too. There are many cobbled streets in Istanbul, which is of course part of its history. It's very beautiful, it's very nice, but that does also mean that getting around on a wheelchair is very difficult when you have to pivot very quickly, suddenly, as you do in these very tight, very sudden sort of spaces. It is going to make life a little bit difficult. And if I'm being completely honest, the wheelchair that we bought with us for our week holiday was in a pretty sorry state by the end of the holiday, because of all the twisting and turning and all the curbs that we had to get up and all the uneven curbs. So you are going to need a very strong and robust wheelchair to actually take the bashing that the city is definitely going to give it. Now, I do just want to finish up on another positive note about the city, and that is that it is trying very hard to be as accessible as possible. All of the trams, all of the buses have a disabled ramp, and they are all very patient and very friendly